What's going on? This is something, monumental in my life, in our life. This is the first episode of Just Talking Ball. I'm your boy David Wimbush, aka Texas Jayhawk. Got my guy Eric Foster with me, man. The I'm gonna say the antagonizer of getting this going and getting it on, off the ground and trying something new, which I appreciate. Anytime we're talking football, I'm for it. And that's what this is going to be about. This is going to be talking football. Sometimes we'll focus probably primarily on the Big 12, but I got my man Eric Foster, a lifetime Longhorn. He is very proud of that.
Don't forget that. Very important. Very important.
I'm just a guy that tried to play football. I made all state in high school. That's probably where it ended. But I'm a proud kid from nah. I was very fortunate to go play at University of Kansas, and I'm a Texas boy through and through, but my heart is in Lawrence, and I love it. I love it. So with this first deal, I'm kind of an old head. I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but this technology and these podcasts, and Eric is a little more advanced or experienced in this, so I'm gonna let him kick off, or let him say how he want to kick off this show.
Yeah, so basically introducing the viewers to what we want to create here, right? And the goal is to give you a dynamic from a fan, an educated fan, right, and a player, and a coach, and someone that knows the game from an intimate level. So you'll get the dichotomy of how people see the game from the stands and how people see the game from the field. And we're hoping that dynamic will be something that's really attractive to the viewers. Especially those of you in Lawrence. I know you guys are loud and high. You're having a hell of a season right now. Except for when you came to Austin. But besides that, I root for you every game outside of that.
We'll touch on that, but yeah, just to piggyback off what you said, the times we live in, everybody's got a platform to be a critic, and I'm not here to start mess or talk noise to anyone, but one of my biggest deals is there's a lot of critics with no credentials. Not to sit here to say that I know everything about ball. We started this and we decided to do this just to give it from our perspective, like he said earlier, just for the love of the game, just talking ball. Everybody has free will and you can watch it or you don't have to watch it. But it's just something that we like to give, and like say in coaching, especially, it is all about giving back and giving what you was given. So that's my main focus of all this. So how you want to start this, man?
Let's kind of go around the horn, David. Let's talk about, give me the top two things that caught your eye this week. I'll give you the top two things that caught mine, and let's see where we go.
Man, I'm gonna tell you, I don't want to sound, all this stuff in the background. Obviously, I'm a proud alum, like I said earlier, but I've been just focusing on this get back after the bye week for Kansas, and there's been a lot of talk about whether the quarterback Jalen Daniels is going to play or not, and he's listed as doubtful. I watched the podcast with Coach Leipold, and he said, he's getting better, and Coach Leipold's known to keep a lot of things close to the vest, which is fine. I'm all for players' privacy, and everybody's not entitled to know what's going on with someone. We're all human beings at the end of the day, and we want to be healthy, and we want to put our players in the best situation to be successful. And if he's not ready to go, I'm sure Jalen Daniels has earned the trust to give the yay or nay in that situation. And just, I'm not big on everything else, but the sign stealing, and I'm going to let you kind of talk about that more because you hear about it, but I really don't know what it all entailed.
So I'll go into that. I'll let that be part of one of your two because I got two separate ones. As a fan, you have a couple of questions in the beginning. How much does it matter? I'm big on Madden, you know that. I know that it is helpful to me calling a defense, calling an offense, if I know what's in front of me. Real life, though, how much of an advantage does it give you? You were an offensive coordinator. How much of an advantage does it give you if I can give you the defensive signal before the play call?
It doesn't. And I learned this in my first coaching job ever in Austin, Texas at Crockett High School. One of the guys that taught me the spread offense, a guy named Paul Walden, who I give a lot of credit to teaching me, taking time. And, there's definitely a learning curve and a crossover from player to coach. You know, I mean, you can't just step on the field and say, "Oh, I did this," or how are you going to explain it? How are you going to reach this player compared to this player? But I digress. He always would say, because we were a signal spread team, and he would say, if they can get the signal, learn it, flip it, and then get it to their defense and stop it, then they deserve to stop it. So that's kind of the
now it's a bit of a I want to ask though, because if I'm
interpreting the story correctly, if everything that's out there in the media sphere is true, my understanding is that the staffer that they had for Michigan is a former Army code breaker, and they do have the calls from for all intents and purposes. So I asked the question. So let's assume not only that I have the call, but I know, right? Because it was an elaborate scheme where they ran wristbands, and so let's assume you know the call. So if I tell you, they're in a cover 2 X, right? How much does that help you in calling the offense?
Well, now, putting it like that, yes. So now what is a good chunk of my preparation going to be? Cover 2 beaters. We're going to see, as long as they're in a 2 high shell, which is what a cover 2 structure is, probably going to run the ball a little more, and have a little more run heavier offense, or run things where we put stress on. Like if I go 2 by 2, I'm going to put more stress on that safety by running 2 verticals, may drag a tight end to occupy the corner that's going to have to play the flat area so he can't carry one of the verticals, things like that. 6-man box is usually a favorable box to run the football against. So that, now putting it like that is definitely an advantage if you know exactly what this team's going to run. But at the same time, I mean, the same preparation, when you're watching film and I'm watching the last 3 or 4 games, I'm going to be able to get some tendencies, and it'll be pretty. It wouldn't be the best idea from week to week to change your whole structure to say, we're going to fool them. When we end up hurting ourselves trying to fool the other team, and they haven't even proven that they can be successful or move the ball on what we have now. So I guess there's challenges and advantages to it, but I mean, why even put yourself in that position? I mean, everybody wants to win. When you're winning, a lot of people don't say anything, but now that this has come out, now people are gonna start separating themselves from it.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought, because as a fan, right, I always felt like it was
40% play, 60% the athlete. So ultimately, I can know what you're coming. I can know you're running the ball. I don't have the bodies. I don't have the bodies. It doesn't matter. So I think there's a part of that, but I do think there's a part of it, because if you're out there on social media, you really see. I'm a numbers guy, right? In my everyday life, I deal with numbers every day. So the statistics say that around, allegedly when this started, if I'm just looking at the numbers, I'm looking at defensive yardage per game, defensive points per game, offensive points per game, you see an anomaly. You see a really big spike in all of a sudden Michigan's defense is really good. Michigan's offense is really good versus some of its opponents. So I think all things being equal, right? When you go into a Michigan, Ohio State, or a Michigan versus Ohio State, Michigan versus Penn State, the athletes, that 60% is kind of equal. So now it's kind of where can you
start to win within those margins?
So from a fan's perspective, it certainly feels like that gives them an advantage. So we'll see. Last question I'll ask on that topic is, okay, let's assume it's true. Let's assume it's proven. Then what? What kind of penalty would you expect? What kind of penalty would you like to see? Right at
someone in the game, are you looking for them to drop the hammer? Minor infraction, kind of what are your thoughts there?
There's like I said, that it can have so many implications. It could matter on so many levels. It can come from an institutional embarrassment, or our reputation, or what we stand for, integrity. It could have an implication on the college football. If they won under that pretense, or under the sign stealing thing, that can alter a lot of things. Then you look at, well, benefit of the doubt. I'm not here to judge anyone. I know Coach Harbaugh just came off of a 4 game suspension,
4 games.
4 game suspension. So now it's like, God, you got over that. Now you're facing something else, and then you're feeling sometimes like somebody's after me. You know, I just came off of this, and now boom, this hits it. But another thing, you know, being there, having coached at all levels, it's tough. It's tough for the fan to understand that they're still human beings too, and institutional control over your whole team. Yes, on paper, yes, you're the head coach. You have assistants. We're gonna A, B, C, D, E, F, G, keep it all in a row. But life happens, things happen. Now we're not talking about just look another way for cheating, but we're just talking about having institutional control over everything. Sometimes an assistant may want to impress you, or somebody may want to help the team win to kind of stand out, and they may make a bad decision at that moment. It doesn't make them a bad person. It doesn't make them the worst, but just all that plays into it, instead of just, oh, he's a cheater, that's why they've been winning, or that's why their stats are the way it is. Winning is hard. And I don't condone it. I don't agree with it, but I do understand, because now I haven't been in the seat where I'm making $10 million a year and everybody is having this expectation of, we got to look like this on offense, defense, and still, look good while we're doing it and still win. I mean, winning is hard. And I think sometimes that is taken for granted, because I'm able to sit in my chair and pick apart a week's worth of preparation, or even summer months plus that game week's worth of preparation, to say, oh, you could have did this, you could have did that. But nobody says that when you win. So it does. If I'm on the other side of that, and I'm gonna say this and end it, if I'm on the other side of that, yeah, I'm mad as hell about it. I'm gonna probably not use it as an excuse, but definitely it's gonna be a factor. Now you may feel better if you beat them in spite of, but man, it's a lot of yapping with all this social media and messages getting misconstrued and subliminals being thrown out there. It's a lot, man. It's a lot.
I don't know, man. I think the more I think about it, the more it comes out. I find myself in the drop the hammer camp, right? Because this is allegedly so wide that it stretched back to Shane Beamer at South Carolina, right? Because he's got some guys on his staff that were on the Michigan staff, so they've got tape on guys they were playing and all that. I'm a
chronic.
Yeah. I'm a big within the rules guy.
And I'm
Me
talking
too.
about I'm willing to go all the way to the line of whatever the rule is. And I may even play in some gray area because I love to win. Anybody knows me, winning is everything to me. That's what this game is about.
He's right about going all the way to the line.
People
talk about, with life lessons and building great men and all that. I want to win. I think there's room to do both, and
you build great men by winning. Everyone that's achieved anything in life is a winner. And if you start there, everything else kind of follows. So I really think when it comes out, this just seems like there's no way to say the institution didn't help.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're talking over the course of years, over the course of coaches, and we did. I listened to a really great comedian, with some stuff that happened in pop culture a while back, and said, hey, if you're ever going to commit a crime, don't write a check
and don't use your real name. Right?
So those are, we kind of broke
some of the cardinal criminal rules in this scandal. But
enough of that. We'll touch on that
in weeks to come.
I think.
But the last thing I will say, what they always say, if you're coaching it, if you either coaching it or you're allowing it to happen.
Absolutely.
So I'm gonna leave it at that.
I think some of my things
that I'm watching this week.
One, how does Texas play?
Of course.
With their quarterback out.
Oh, welcome to the club. Welcome to the club.
I think it's the same, but different in terms of what Kansas is experiencing. Because right. Hey, you'll hear that a lot on the show. I got my own problems.
But really interesting to see how a kid that a large part of the fan base, the Texas fan base, thought should have gotten a shot, thought should have maybe been the starter last year. So really anxious to see what he does with this opportunity against a quality team that's going to. Texas has the athletes, Texas has the dogs, should win despite of, right? But I'm curious to see when you're facing a defense that's got guys that's going to be where they're supposed to be when they're supposed to be there. Can you make the right read? Can you make the right play and go lead your team to a victory? I think that's one. And then I think another thing
I'm looking for is just
maybe around the Big 12. What does Kansas do with another shot in prime time against an Oklahoma team as a Texas fan that I know is going to run some things that will confuse you? They're going to give you some pressures up front that you have not seen. Texas, I'll say it from a perspective like this. Texas, and Steve Sarkisian just talked about this maybe the last 3 weeks. Every team that Texas has played has done something different than what they put on film up until that point. That's a staple of Brent Venables. That's what he's known for. He's known for giving guys looks that aren't on film, giving guys looks that they've never seen before. So really excited to see what Jason Green does in a sold-out Lawrence, Kansas. I think last time you guys were in prime time last year, was it? It wasn't against Oklahoma. Who's that game?
It was TCU game day. That was the game. Jalen Daniels went down late in the first half, and then they had to go to Norman the next week. And we're going to get into that a little later, talking about the recap and kind of how Jason Bean was thrown into the fire, with maybe, 3 to 5 days of preparation, opposed to this year, fast forward, that he, had a little more reps because, Jalen's been really battling that back injury, and just I think, Jason started the first game of the season against Missouri State. So we're going to get into it. Now, is that your breakdown of Texas, or you got some more later on?
No, we'll talk about the breakdown a little more. I think there's more that we'll look for, from the fans.
And I'm excited to see. I want to see, how you build momentum, because if Texas is going to be what the fans want them to be, what they want to be themselves, you're going to get a curveball here, you're going to get a curveball there. You still got to be able to hit it, So really, really excited to see Texas deal with injuries, both announced and unannounced. You got guys banged up all over the place. But again, so does everybody, right? I've got my own problems.
Exactly. So I'm going to let you get into that a little more. And in fact, we're going to go back around the Big 12, recap last week's scores, and we're going to end off with Texas because Eric was actually in Houston for that scary game. So, Oklahoma played Central Florida, had a squeaker in the thriller, 31-29. It's a back and forth game. UCF hit a score on 4th and 10 to take the lead late in the game, or I should say to almost tie it, but they had a failed 2-point conversion at the end. Now, did you see that 2-point conversion play?
We didn't. So it was the end of that game as the Houston game was starting.
So we were tracking on our phone, and they
had the ticker running across
in Houston's stadium. So we were watching kind of
with bated breath just to see how it happened. I think one of the things that,
if you look across the Big 12 last week, I'd say every team that was favored struggled, with the exception of Kansas State. I don't even know. I haven't looked at the line. I don't even know if they were favored or not. But the majority of teams, really not only just in the Big 12, across the country, across the top 25, the majority of the teams that were favored struggled for name or reason. So I was excited to see, if Oklahoma is who they think they are, who other people think they are. As a Texas fan, right? I want them to win. I want them to win. I want us to win. I want to do it again on December the 1st, December the 2nd, because I think that's just how the Steelers are supposed to be written in stars. But we'll see.
That's an undertone of this whole superiority of going to the SEC. Let's go out with a bang. Whatever.
I won't break your heart. I kid you not. In every sport, I won't break your heart to have to hand the trophy to Texas or Oklahoma. In every major sport, Texas, outside of football's a toss-up, basketball, there may be an edge in Lawrence. But really, every other major sport, he's got a shot having to send that trophy to Austin. And I know that's going to suck. And I think when you I'll touch on that for just a brief moment, because I think he put himself in this position. More often than not, conference commissioners are behind the scenes, they're hidden. You know the name, but you don't know the face. You don't know the comments. You don't know all those other things. But when you put yourself in the forefront, not only visiting a school's booster and athletic event, right, where you're all kind of sitting that, you know, and as a Kansas fan, I want to pick your brain. And, you know, how do you feel the commissioner is kind of crowning another school an heir apparent? That's what that means. I don't know, you can wrap it up and say whatever you want to say about it. But if I come to your booster event, if I'm all that, and I'm telling you I want you to win X game, that game, the head coach is out here proclaiming that the Big 12 runs through Lubbock, right? You are condoning those things, and you've got to wear that now. So when you come to Austin, if you still come, you know, when you come to Austin at Thanksgiving Friday, and you've got to watch that game, and hopefully that game has meaning, that the winner's going to go to Dallas, and you know you got to hand that trophy up, and you're going to be the story. You got to own that, and I'm excited to make them do that.
Well, you can see he's definitely a Longhorn fan. I'm not going to let this turn into a burnt orange discussion. And I wanted to touch, and this is a stat that I couldn't believe, that Central Florida leads the Big 12 in total offense per game at 499.6 yards a game. Number one in the Big 12.
That's surprising. Huh? That's surprising. Gus Malzahn, I mean, I'm a big Gus guy. Didn't get it done at Auburn. A lot of people don't. That's a hard place to win in that shadow of Tuscaloosa. But I've always been a real big Gus guy from high school to now. So that doesn't surprise me much.
I just think sometimes, I guess the output of the wins, I think I don't have it in front of me. I have it somewhere, but between Central Florida, BYU, and I don't know about Cincinnati, but all these new Big 12 teams are over in conference right now. But you lead. So that's just those stats. Like I say, it's not all about the stats. You know, it's a weird deal. But we're not going to stay on them too long. Baylor, Cincinnati. Baylor's getting back in the win column, 32-29, down in Cincinnati. That's a hard place to play. Not even with I'm just only saying that because they have had a lot of recent success. As a freshman, I played down there in late October when it was cold, and they came out, and it's going to age me. They came out to the song Men in Black. The Men in Black soundtrack came out, and they commenced to Men in Black in Our Tails. So I'm just going to leave it at that. But had a big team special play. I think they had 2 scores within 10 seconds of each other or something like that. They scored on offense and then kicked it off. Kid fumbles and it falls right into his hand, and scores right before halftime, and that kind of swung the momentum. There's a guy I've had a chance to go watch Baylor practice a couple of times. They got an Arkansas transfer, I think, from Arkansas, Ketron Jackson, and he's a dude. I mean, he's a big body, fast receiver. But I'm gonna be partial to the little guy. Shout out to Monterey Baldwin, Colleen product. But Ketron Jackson had his first 100-yard game against Cincinnati, and that ultimately helped those guys get the win. What do you think about Baylor? Because they've struggled a little bit with quarterback issue. Everybody's going through the quarterback deal. I know Shapen, I think, came back this week, but I know in the previous weeks he was banged up a little bit. I mean, y'all played them already, right? I don't know.
Yeah, we did. It was a good game.
If you were Borderlands, it was a good game for you. No, I think again, same thing. Great. Katie bounced back
after some tough games, tough losses, but also a couple of sweeter victories. Can you build some momentum? Can you get yourself not only in the bowl game picture, but a position to play spoiler and have it mean something? I think for a second there, Coach Randall was talked about as being on a hot seat. So every game is going to matter. Same with Houston, right? Every game is going to matter.
And that's crazy. Hot seats off when it was just in the Big 12 championship, 2 years ago? Was it 2 years ago?
Yeah, it was 2 years ago. But I think again, putting my brother glasses back on for half a second, what the teams do around you kind of impacts how you're viewed. So yes, you won the Big 12 not too long ago. Yes, you made a New Year's Six game not too long ago. But what else is going on around you? You're looking at TCU play for a national championship last year. You're looking at Texas ascend. You're looking at these other schools around you. So Baylor, Texas Tech, Houston, Texas A&M, they're all in that same position where you're watching other schools be where you think you should be. So you have to think about, is the guy at the helm, Coach Randa, Overson, all these other guys, is the guy at the helm the guy to get you there, or do you need to make a change sooner rather than later?
But you're right. That's the good thing about it, because I am truly looking at it from a coach's perspective, and you're looking at it from a fan perspective, or just numbers. Like you say, I mean, we do live in a world of what have you done for me lately, and it's tough because now you don't even get to celebrate those moments. Yeah, you don't want to just live off of those moments, but you want to celebrate them for more than just a night. I mean, I know it's a Nick Saban thing. We'll celebrate for 24 hours and we're back to work, and that's pretty much everybody's philosophy. But it's a different feel. It's definitely a different feel when you've been winning and you're winning going into the office, opposed to losing and it's just one game. But some people think like the sky's falling, but it's just I love that staff there. There's some good guys there. I watched Coach Aranda when he was at LSU when he won the national championship. I lived in Louisiana at the time, so it was a special deal. But yeah,
you've got to give the fan base something. You give them wins, you give them recruiting wins.
Yeah.
You give them something to hang their hat on. I think back to the days of Charlie Strong for Texas, and you just wanted something because Charlie Strong was such an amazing guy. I'm just giving the real world experience of what it's like to be a fan of a program that may not be doing what you want on the field, but you believe in the staff, you believe in the philosophy, you believe in the program. So you're really just looking for anything. And unfortunately, for Baylor, they're not in a position where they're, pulling in 5-star wide receivers like Texas yesterday, right? You're not in a position where you've got the number one edge rusher, number one offensive tackle, all those things that other programs around you down the road are doing. So it has that kind of impact. They just got a new stadium. They did a new basketball stadium in Waco. So they want to see this ascension, and you got to give them something.
And that's a good point. And that's why I'm glad I have you here, because you got a younger, more current perspective. I'm like I say, I'm a little older, and it is winning used to fix everything. Now we're living in the world of NIL. We're living in the transfer portal. So now it's so many other factors where recruiting was recruiting battle. It was a battle. It was enough. I mean, now you can do a little more things freely, and now it's the haves and the have not. And unfortunately, in Austin, it's a lot of haves. It's a lot of haves. So
well, and we knew that, and I think there were certain programs. You brought up Nick Saban a second ago, and he gave this whole, he kind of forecasted this. He said NIL is going to make it there's going to be a bigger gap between the haves and the have-nots. That's been a little bit true, but you've also seen programs, Missouri, other programs. I know you hate to hear that, right? But you've also seen other programs take advantage, right? If I recall correctly, Missouri crafted NIL legislation to make it advantageous for those kids to stay home, right? NIL earners that are signed with Mizzou, I believe, can start earning as seniors in high school.
And I'll begrudgingly say that is a good deal.
Yeah.
I hate that it came out of Columbia, but that's a great deal.
Nebraska, same. Sam, I think one of the greatest NIL deals I've ever seen is they got a kid, DePoldus Crawford, right? He's got that AC NIL deal where he's getting a pretty healthy check. So you have an opportunity for some of these programs that were at the top, but then they kind of went dormant. Tennessee, Nebraska, some other guys that now you see NIL getting them back into the mix because those fans are so desperate. I think that's one of the things that, unfortunately, when you look at the new Big 12 next year and beyond, who's going to be able to take advantage of that? I'm excited to see if Kansas is going to be able to step into that space and play harder. I don't know if Coach Self is going to like that, because I think you guys are fighting for the same dollars, but I'm excited.
I tell you what, that's going to be another episode, because I mean, there's a lot of things, and there's so many things, and it's things you hear, it's things you see, and then there's what is in that. I mean, we could have a whole episode on that. I'm not going to hold us up on it. Oklahoma State, West Virginia, Oklahoma State, 48-34, Ollie Gordon, running back, 29 carries, 282 yards, 4 touchdowns, almost 10 yards a carry. He had more rushing than West Virginia had passing. So, I mean, the score doesn't really indicate that it was that much domination, but stat-wise, like I say, at the end of the day, man, it's about W's and L's, and Oklahoma State got it done.
Texas, it was in Oklahoma State, right?
It was, yes.
Okay. Big Mike Gundy guy. I was glad not to see him on the Texas schedule this year.
They're scary.
Big Mike, they're getting it, right? We'll talk about things. Got Iowa State score coming up too. We'll talk about some of the teams that maybe didn't start out great, but they're finding it. And what can those teams do on the back end? I think will be exciting in the conference.
So, yeah, BYU, Texas Tech, BYU 27, Texas Tech 14. Texas Tech led in every offensive stat, but they also had 2 turnovers. So BYU.
5. I thought it was 5. I thought they had 5. I thought BYU forced 5 turnovers.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I know. I thought it was 2 interceptions and a fumble return for a touchdown. They only essentially got 10 points off of those turnovers.
I could be wrong. I want to double check that, but I thought I read that they'd forced 5 turnovers, which made up for why they had all those stats and weren't able to pull it out. I think since I gotta get this right, but since Jordan McGuire said that the Big 12 runs through Lubbock, I think they're like 4-9 since the Big 12 started running through Lubbock. So I'm always excited to see people have to stand on, and the same goes for every other program, right? Texas claimed themselves John Wick coming into the season, embrace the hate and all of those things. I love when programs and coaches give themselves things to stand on. It adds to the pageantry, it adds to the excitement of the game. I'm excited to see if you're going to get it done.
Exactly. This is my team. This is my family. I'm going to go to war. I mean, when I was in Lawrence, people may have giggled or, Kansas State, Missouri or whatever. But every game we stepped on the field, I totally felt we were going to win. You had guys like us, sportscasters, all these guys. Oh, Kansas don't have a chance, and you got to settle on the field. The game is not won by us talking. It's not won by all that noise talking. It's just bulletin board material, ways to prepare, and ways to get kids, motivated ultimately and to carry out a sound game plan. Kansas State, Texas, TCU, 41-3. K-State had 587 yards of total offense. TCU only had 1 drive where they were over 10 plays. I mean, Kansas State grounded and pounded. They had 4 rushes over 60 yards, 60-plus yards rushing, including the quarterback. Now, I didn't see – I mean, I don't know if everybody's been giving TCU the respect from last year. TCU was still a quality program. They're in the Big 12, so I'm going to be biased. They played in the national championship last year. I know this isn't last year, but they're still TCU. But it's almost starting to feel kind of like Oklahoma last year. They're still Oklahoma, but it's not coming out in wins and losses. So I mean,
well, I think that from a fan perspective, right? I'd say this year was Sonny Dykes' opportunity to say, I didn't need Gary Patterson's kids, right? Because I think there's always some of that. Anyone that's followed the game kind of knows the TCU model was recruit, develop, win. Now, they had done it where they were able to see some of that development come to fruition every year, but as things started to taper off when they joined the Big 12, right, you weren't able to kind of stack those developmental classes. So they were moving into that realm of being a program that only competed every 3 or 4 years. So last year was when that crop of kids was done, and whoever was in that seat, I firmly believe, having met Gary Patterson a couple of times, having been around him,
see that Texas now, right?
Right, it was last year. Last year he was a defensive analyst.
Yeah.
But having seen that improvement under him, it's obvious the guy knows ball. It's obvious that the guy knows what he's doing. So anybody that was in that seat last year when those crop of kids came of age, you're talking super seniors, super duper seniors. You're talking key transfers, right? All of those, whoever was in that seat was going to win big. It was always about what could you do short of getting a national championship. So I think that's the only thing in this world that buys you. You can assign a number to a national championship. If you win a national championship, you got 4 years after that. No matter what happens, you could completely crumble and go downhill. Most programs will still tolerate you for another 4 seasons after that. anything beyond that, you got to give us something. So I think you'll start to see the wheels turn. What can TCU be long term? K State, that's scary though. It's a scary score because they'll be in Austin next week. So yeah,
ultimately that's really all he cares about. What's coming through I-35. So what? Well, I mean, they're 2-3 in the Big 12, 4-4 overall. So I mean, it's not terrible. There's still a chance to be bowl eligible. So I mean, it's just, I guess, with the respect TCU has, and the respect I don't have. Now I'm joking. K-State's got a quality program. It was a quality program when I was there. Actually, the head coach there now was the assistant coach when I played at Kansas, Coach Kleinman. Shout out to him, great guy. So happy for all the success he's having there. All right, this is it. Recap: Texas versus Houston, 31-24. The Horns narrowly escaped a major upset, but I was hoping for. They total offense. I mean, Texas had 360 yards, Houston 392, but Houston had 2 turnovers. And I think Texas got a stop. Was that the spot you were talking about? That wasn't the spot.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. Houston got a really bad spot at the end of that game. I believe it was 3rd and 8. They got 9.5. Ref gave them 7. Right. Now, as a Texas fan, you counter with, but the ref is holding here, holding there. Right. You can play that what if game all day long. Whatever happened. They had an opportunity on 4th and 1. I didn't like the play call a ton because, again, when you got a mobile quarterback, he was running, he was giving us challenges. You've seen things on film, option, all these other things that they could have went to that had given us trouble throughout the year. They didn't go to any of that. They went to a rollout pass to an average passer. So when he puts the ball in his hands, I think he run the risk of what happening.
So when you was there, did you feel it was a showdown or a battle of wits because those 2 great offensive coaches?
Your pride will never let you feel like it's a game until the end. When you get into the 4th quarter, game's tied. I believe our first possession of the 4th quarter, we didn't score. But our defense stepped up. Our defense in the middle of the 3rd quarter through the end of the game started to finally roll it back a bit. So when you see those things happen, you still feel like, what will win out. So I was curious to see how we finished the game. Disappointed in the game, disappointed in being a tough game, but you take the positives out of it. The culture is there. 3 years ago, they lost this game easily, no question about it. Maybe even early last year, they lost this game. So you see the culture start to be there. You see those kids do what they need to do to win, and you're just happy to escape. This time of year, like I said, everyone this year struggled a bit. You survive in advance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree, and that's it. And when you look back on it, if you're 11-1 and Big 12 champs getting ready to go to the college football playoff, you're not going to look back in Houston and say, "Oh man, that still haunts me." We got out of there with that.
Nobody remembers the wins, and really nobody remembers a ton of the losses unless it's one that stands out.
No doubt. It is almost like demoralizing, and coming up on this week, we kind of talked about what we're excited about.
Well, I've got a question for you before we get that far. Yeah. So you're not going to give a recap of Kansas because they had a bye week.
Yeah.
But just talk to me about going into that bye week. What are some of the things you would say? I'm hoping we tighten it up. Texas, I think, talked about, well, we needed to self-scout. We needed to talk about red zone offense, et cetera. Talk to me about what they're looking for in Lawrence going into the bye week.
And that's a good question because I've read some things, I've seen some things, even been in that situation. And the first thing you want to do is heal up any nicks or bruises. You want to get healthy. You want kids to rest. And it's advantageous because you want to maybe get away from it a little bit, just a little bit, to say, hey, I'm not just bogged down week in, week out, even though that's what they're there for and they love the game. But I mean, just kind of get away from it, keep it fresh, come back. But basically, Kansas specifically, should I say, not basically, specifically Kansas, they were banged up on the D-line a little bit. So that was something that was very beneficial to them. Austin Booker, who's a probably our standout defensive lineman. He played well against Oklahoma State and Central Florida, but it was limited reps. You know, it's kind of not necessarily a pitch count, but just as tolerated. You know, if you know what that means, you know, between injury and hurt, you know, you got something that's nagging, but man, those days go by so fast where you've got to get work in to prepare. You know, there are very few people that at least they know that if you're a real competitor, you can't just get off the bus on a Saturday and say, hey, I'm here and I haven't done anything since last Sunday, you know. So you've got to get reps in, whether they're mental, whether they're walkthrough, you got to do something. So that was a big benefit. And, you know, offensively, you know, like I say, it's been good for Jason Bean because, I mean, he's played, it's 5 games, 6 games in, 7 games in, and he started 4 of them at least. You know, I know Daniel started Illinois, Nevada, and it was one more, BYU. So, I mean, Beans had the other ones. And we were at that game together, the Texas-Kansas game, and that's kind of when it, you know, the rumbling and the talk started to pick up because, I don't look a lot on boards for like, oh, who's injured? I just, you know, who shows up. But I was definitely expecting Jalen Daniels because in my mind, and in a lot of people's mind, you know, Texas is not going to ever admit to it, but Kansas is the team worth, you know, worrying about now. Absolutely. Because years ago in 2021, I was at that game also, double overtime thriller, you win, you know, so we joked about, you know, finally it's come back around and we're going to get it again, but we definitely had the team to do it. And no knock to Jason Bean at all. I don't know what that week was like. I'm not in the camp there, so I don't know if that week was, okay, Bean, we're going to share the one reps with you, or it's been all Jalen and say, oh, he tweaked something in pregame, or he tweaked something and walked through the day before and we've got to go, you know. So, I mean, I'm not upset either way. I was looking at 24/7 the other day, and a couple of national guys were saying that Jason Bean is probably the best backup in the nation. If you think about the numbers he's put up, the thing, not necessarily, his, you know, star rating or the attributes of what he could do, but what he's put on film and what he's done. I mean, he threw for 400 yards against Oklahoma State and 5 touchdowns. And I mean, yeah, we lost, but I mean, that's nothing to turn your nose up at. Starting quarterbacks aren't doing that. And like I say, Oklahoma State, like he said, there's a scary team. You never know who's going to show up, and they will pack the box, get in your face, and be physical. So that's another thing that's been good for us. And, you know, just keeping the main thing, evolving as an offense, the things we're good at, continue to be good at, and get better and great at them. You know, don't try to reinvent the wheel, you know, with time. But I think the biggest thing is healing up, you know, maybe putting a wrinkle in here or there. You got a little more time to see how it looks, how you feel about it. But definitely health, you know, on D-line will help you. And I think the defensive coordinator, Coach Borland, said this is the healthiest that they've been as a defense since probably week 1 or week 2. So, you know, it came at a good time. It came at a good time. They also gave Jalen another week to rest up. You know, whether he's and our coach said he's doubtful because Lapo said he's doubtful. You know, but like I say, if you see this interview, keep it close to the vest. He's, you know, and I said I respect that and I appreciate that. So
you have that. You have what you wanted going into the bye week. Sounds like you checked off a lot of those boxes. So now, what does that translate into? What do you see for this week?
Well, first of all, you know, like I say, we live in this social media age. First of all, you got to block out the distractions. You know, it's homecoming, big noon kickoff, Fox, which is, you know, our second major network to come to Lawrence in the consecutive year. But that is big for us. I joked about it, but it's a big deal, and I'm happy for it. Sold out. Just of last night, they were talking about, well, we don't think the game's going to be sold out. And, you know, our athletic director is a great guy, Travis Goff. And, you know, we talked about the renovations coming in the near future. We've already redone the locker room, done some other things that the players now can benefit from, you know, rather than say, there's a project 3-4 years away, new stadium, all this stuff. I'm not going to be here for that. So I think that was a great strategy for him to do that, to do the renovations or do the upgrades of things that can happen right now, that these kids that are a big reason of that last year's team, this year's team, so they can reap the benefits of that, like I said, the locker room and other things like that. So they didn't think the game was going to sell out as of yesterday. And now today, you know, it's a sold out game, you know. So, and, you know, Oklahoma is not far. Norman's not far from Lawrence, but, you know, and Oklahoma's going to travel well. But just, I'm really talking about the Lawrence fan base, you know, and I'm glad that we showed up and that we're going to come out. So get those types of distractions out of the way, you know, and only thing that matters is who's between those four walls in that building. You block out everything else, and it's a situation where it wasn't 3 years ago where it's like, let's go out and let's give a good effort. We'll see what happens because, you know, maybe we weren't very good as a team and Oklahoma was dominating. But, you know, Oklahoma's got stuff to prove, just like we're still proving stuff and we're still getting better, because it's, in my opinion, it's not a definite for either team as far as like, oh, we know Oklahoma's gonna come in and just roll us. Yes, they're playing well. Dillon Gabriel's got them rolling, you know. But I mean, we played Dillon Gabriel last year and we lost by 10. But like I say, Jason Bean didn't have the reps that he had. He kind of thrown into the fire. Like I said, this year we're gonna look at some highlights later on of what Kansas offense has done, and you'll be able to see how faster he's playing, how much more comfortable he is in the pocket. He made a couple of throws. I mean, first play of the Texas game, run triple option and go like 35. I mean, I think he's the fastest player on the Kansas team. So Oklahoma got athletes on the field. They're very good on defense. Stutzman. I call him Studman, but Stutzman, that guy's a physical linebacker, and they get after it. And their head coach is a defensive coach. And I mean, this is nothing new to Coach Venables, you know. So I mean, I was at Kansas when Coach Venables was the DC there, and you know, he had his tenure there, national champions, and went off to Clemson, you know, came back, and you know, people kind of looked at him sideways last year, but now, okay, all is well, you know. So I'm excited about it, but we can't turn the ball over. We've got to be able to run the ball, and we've got to be able to get after Dillon Gabriel. I mean, I don't know if Oklahoma's run attack is what it's been, so I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, you know, we ain't got to worry about the run, but obviously they're pass heavy. Now, Jeff Levy is one hell of an offensive coordinator. I know the tree he comes from. I had a chance to be around a couple of those guys, Sterling Gilbert and guys like that. And I mean, offensively, they get after it. So it's going to be a game where I, in my opinion, think Kansas has to play some of their, if not their best football up to this point this year.
So take us, do me a favor, take us into the locker room just a little bit. How much does it matter that you say Kansas has to play some of their best ball? How much do you rely on the fact you've done that already, right? Because last year you played a decent game. Year before that, we watched the game. You guys are letting them wrongly advance the ball, play away, let Lincoln ride. Well, I don't remember what he called, a timeout, or Lincoln ride, you know. Put on a shirt for a second.
The legal advancement of a
exactly.
Run and Caleb Williams. That's when the legend of him started. Yeah.
So how much do you rely on that? And that I know it doesn't matter because it was years ago, but does that help shape the mindset of we can play with these guys, regardless of the record, regardless of what they've done in the past? We know that we can play with these guys. So what does that do for your mindset going into the game?
I think the mindset first and foremost is that, like you said, we can play with these guys. We can compete and win if we play our best. Maybe years before, and minus last year, we did lose, but like 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, their best football still wouldn't be good enough to get the win. Now it is, you know. I just, you know, you try not to think about last year because it's a different team. You know, it's a different team. So, you know, the good thing about it is, you know, you got them at home. You know, I don't think, this is just me in the locker room, I wouldn't tell my kids this, but this is how I would feel knowing my kids better than Oklahoma, just going off what I see on film. Oklahoma's not sure of who they are just yet either. I don't think they're convinced. I mean, you know, when Coach Riley was there, you knew what you was getting, and they did it. And I mean, they did it well. They ran the ball and they threw the ball. You know, he's an air raid guy. They were very good running the football, and maybe that's because everybody's preparing for the pass. But he did a good job of balancing it. I don't, you know, there was a guy talking on Jayhawk Slant, and he said that Oklahoma doesn't have the big name running back that they've had in the past, like 5-star guys. Like, you know, no disrespect, but I can't even tell you the name of their starting running back. Can you? I mean, I know you Texas played him, but you know, it's not because he's not good enough. That's just because, you know,
I know
he's not getting off Hoopla. I can name guys from other schools.
It's viewed as the system.
Yeah,
right?
that I don't
He's
follow.
doing what he
does because of the system and not because
Exactly. But I know who Nick Anderson is.
Right.
you know, and I don't follow OU like that, but I know who Nick Anderson is, and you know, he had some big run, and obviously everybody knows who every quarterback is. But I just think we're in a situation, and it's tough. It's always tough going into a bye week with a loss. That's one. You're able to kind of get over it, you know, let it go, but there's still that sour taste, that bitter taste in your mouth of, you know, damn, everybody we play is worthy. There is no easy wins. There is, you know, this is homecoming. And traditionally, high school, you know, college, homecoming is the run over team, you know, lay down and we're going to get big wins, going to have a celebration. This is Oklahoma, you know. Now, lightning has struck a couple times for Kansas on homecoming. When I was there, we upset a number 17 ranked Colorado team on homecoming night in October. So, and even since then, you know, I'm not gonna tell you what year that was, but it was a good night. And so you never know. It's homecoming. It's we're back at home. We got a sold out crowd. We're a good enough team. Now, if you want me to go into what the keys, which I'll go into later, so I'm not gonna go into that.
Well, I guess last thing, maybe not the keys, but any surprises? Because I think in the fan arena, we always think of this bye week as an opportunity to get healthy, an opportunity to really game plan for this upcoming game. Any surprises you can forecast? Anything you think they've worked on, maybe that we haven't seen on film? Or is Kansas in a place where it's really just we want to work on what we do and just excel in that?
I think it's the latter. You know, listening to Coach Kolanecki, he said, you know, like I said, keeping the main thing, things that we're good at, continue to be good at, and build from there. Like I said, I'm not going to try to reinvent the wheel just because we have an extra 5-6 days. So I think it's more of the latter. Just let's continue to get better at what we've been doing, you know. And sometimes you can't overcoach and overthink, you know, and one loss doesn't mean that whatever you're doing is trash or it's not working. There's things within that, you know, execution, you know, the bounces, the game of inches. And like I said, you said game of inches, not even just yardage. I'm talking about leverages, blocks, missed tackles by inches, things like that, you know. So, I mean, I think that's been the mindset in Lawrence, you know, get healthy, keeping the main thing, getting good or better at what we're already good at and building and just evolving from there. So I don't know. So that's
you want to give me a prediction now? Or
I'll give it now that we can cut it up. I'm looking for Kansas to win, obviously. I don't think a lot of points will be scored as far as like 40-some points when I say a lot of points. But I'm looking at the 30, 38, 24 range, 38, 35. I'm going to go 38, 35 Kansas. And we've got to make some big plays. And this is my prediction. Got to score on the trick play. And the good thing about this offense, if you really look at it, and I'm going to get into it later on where I, you know, really show you some film and talk about Oklahoma recap last year. And the Kansas offensive coordinator does a good job of running like tackle over, overloaded sets. There's a formation where he's got a tackle out lined up with the receivers, and he's got a tight end next to the guard. I mean, they're just so innovative there. They get you to think on defense, and that's what slows defensive players down. Defensive players want to line up and they want to play fast. But now when you got to key and match up and decide who's eligible and who's not eligible and think and do that much more thinking, you play that much slower. Kansas can play that much faster because O-line wise, it might just be scheme, but all the window dressing and the motions and the shifting, leave that to the skill guys. Let them O-linemen play fast and keep those schemes real simple. If Kansas can run the zone option, triple option, and their gap schemes, if they're successful doing that, they're going to win the game. They're going to win the game because I think they have the best, and I will say it. He's going to make a face. They have the best running back duo in the Big 12. You look at Highshaw and you look at Devin Neal, those two, I don't know. A lot of people will argue that. You're going to say, oh, Jonathan Brooks and their super-duper true freshman over there. Well, they're good. I'm not saying they're not good. I'm just saying I'll put our two backs up against anybody. So I'm looking for what I guess people will call an upset. 38-35 in Lawrence, homecoming. There's gonna be a big surprise.
You got the over. I got you. No, I think you're spot on in terms of I'm not looking for a ton of yards on the ground either way. So I do think the pass game, what Kansas would bring in the option, would give a different look. I can tell you from experience going into that game with Texas, was really nervous about how Texas would defend the option because that it's very difficult to defend a fast quarterback on the edge. It just is, right? No defenses are built for that. And then you think about a couple of shot plays, right? I saw a couple of times. I had never seen a play action off the option before, right?
Pretty man,
but they figured it out, and so I looked for a couple of things. I looked for it at home. I just got to be honest. I do think Oklahoma is just going to be a little too tough. Defensively, I think they'll make a couple of plays, and I think they'll win the turnover battle, and I think that will be the difference. I think Oklahoma wins by touchdown, but I think it's a game. I think it's a game, and I think it's tough. So I'm excited to see what Oklahoma does in that environment on the road.
And that is big. They're I forgot what they're ranked in turnover margin, and that is a good point. And that's why I led with we cannot turn the ball over. We cannot play into what they've been great at or good at all year. You know, I've got something here to make you laugh before I ask them about the BYU Texas game. Everybody gets into all these stats. This is PFF premium stats I've got here. And they're just grading the teams up until this point. And out of the 4 teams we're discussing, the matchup Kansas, Oklahoma, and we're going to talk about BYU and Texas. Those 4 teams right now, grading out at 92.2 is Oklahoma. They're out of the 4 teams we talk about, they're playing the best ball, grade-wise, team-wise on these PFF stats. That's the 92.2. Now, coming in second is a good old Kansas Jayhawks. And so Oklahoma's 13th in the nation, ranked as far as team grades. Kansas is 18 at 91.8 for grade. Coming in at a low 22nd is a Texas Longhorn. I'm not messing. Now Texas is at 91.4. So that's not that much of a mark. I mean, 91.8, 91.4 is.
So it's not, and I think we've got to be honest about what goes into that, right? So grade your performance versus your opponents, right? So your schedule matters. I think when you've got Oklahoma who leads, and this is no fault of theirs, you can only control who's in front of you, right? So if I play who's in front of me and I whoop them up pretty good, that's not on me. That I can't control that.
And I know Texas had a way harder non-conference schedule than Kansas did, you know.
And then Oklahoma did. I think Kansas even plays probably has a tougher chance of schedule than Oklahoma. Again, not Oklahoma's fault who's in front of them, but I think everything deserves a little context. So that's fair.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'll give this to him. I only printed out 1 through 50, and our BYUers are not on there. Not to say, and we talked about this a couple weeks ago on.
They lost 2 games, and I think as you lose, right, your grades get worse.
But they're in the same conversation as Oklahoma State. They're always scary, and BYU's always disciplined, hard-nosed program. I'm going to go ahead and get your prediction on BYU Texas.
Yeah, so I think when you think about BYU, a couple of things you think about. One, if you're a Longhorn fan, you have PTSD, right? Taysom Hill lives rent-free in your head. He certainly, which one is twice, right? It's back-to-back years. We had to go to Provo and they came to
the dark navy.
Yeah. So we had to go to Provo.
What I can't remember.
They won both because we went to Provo 1 year.
Whatever game it was, I know he tore that tail up
twice. So he lives rent-free in your head. So you think about the ghosts of past, but you also think about you're a different team this year. You're winning games you wouldn't have won in the past. You've got some things that you can count on. I think you always feel good when you know you're gonna be able to protect your quarterback no matter who it is. You know you're gonna be able to stop the run no matter who you're playing. And you know you've got the better athletes. Now, what do you worry about, right? I think BYU, we talked about it. is a sound football team. They are going to be where they're supposed to be. Now, can you make the guy miss? Can you just beat the guy one-on-one? Right? Can you do those things that you should be able to do? And you'll get out of there with a win. What I'm looking for is, can Sarkisian craft a game plan around a redshirt freshman quarterback starting in front of 105,000 kids, 105,000 fans for the first time against a quality opponent?
With expectation out of this world still.
With expectations out of this world. Can you run the ball when the team in front of you knows you're going to run the ball? The things that Stark has talked about in the past, right? We want to be the kind of team that runs the ball when other teams know we're going to run the ball. So can we do that? Can we craft a game plan where we get the ball out fast, where we get guys open, and where we hit it? Now, one of the things we'll see on Saturday that we don't see from Quinn very often is William Burke is going to make you defend every single blade of grass.
Yes,
right? That kid has an arm, and he's going to put it downfield more than once. He's 6'4", I believe. He's really heavy. He's a good heavy, right? In shape. Not the quickest kid in the world, right? But wide open. He should be able to get you 6 or 7 when he pulls it down and runs it. Will he get down? Will he be smart? I think ultimately the telltale of this game will be, does Arch Manning play? If Arch Manning plays, that either means Saturday went really bad or went really good. So those are some of the keys I look at.
Because he gets the guy in front of him. He's a fresh shirt, So don't worry about the family getting mad. Oh, burn, this ain't 1980 somewhere. You burn your red shirt off of an emergency situation. And so, like I say, game's not played on paper, but you got to feel good about Texas being number 1 in the Big 12 in rushing defense, and the number 7 in passing defense. So I mean, if you just look at that, and then you look at BYU, they're last in rushing offense.
Yeah, and I think another thing that gives you some level of comfort in this game, and Stark talked about this, and depends on, are you one of those people that views an excuse is just the reason something happened, or is an excuse, right? One of the things he's talked about the last 3 weeks is they played a defense we hadn't put on film, which is almost always that 3 high shell, right? And kept everything in front of them, and they hadn't done that up until that game, so we hadn't seen that on film. Now you're moving into that part of the schedule where BYU, Kansas State, Iowa State, they specialize in that. So I don't expect them to do anything different. I don't expect them to go away from their defensive game plan, because historically it's given Texas challenges anyway. So do we have a plan for that? Can we run the ball? Can we find some time to get the freshmen in the game? Not only Arch Manning, you got freshman wide receivers, little grumblings here or there. They're not playing as much as they want to. Can we do some of those things to build momentum to end the season?
And so, and I know Texas is not a big quarterback run by identity, but I've seen Ewers pull it down and run. There's been some zones he pulls it out the back door. Is it a worry of putting this quarterback in harm's way running the ball, or is that what he's better at, running and throwing? I heard he has an arm.
No, he's a quarterback. He's a pocket quarterback.
Okay, so do you worry about any of that because of it's not necessarily a depth thing? I know Arch Manning, is great and he comes highly touted, but and I only ask that because Kansas is in the same boat. Now, I'm not trying to bring Kansas back, but it's like, okay, you got Jason Bean. God forbid something happens to him, who's the next man up? And it's a kid, their last name is Bauer, who's a preferred walk-on.
Yeah.
Now, he's a preferred walk-on. He's only been there since June, but he's beat out other scholarship guys. So, I mean, I'm encouraged by that, but once again, no reps. You don't want to be in the same situation Jason Bean was in a year ago when Jalen goes down in the TCU game. Now you're thrown in the Oklahoma game, and like I say, it's still Oklahoma. Their record didn't show that, but now this is a different Oklahoma team, and where if you had Jalen Daniels, like, okay, we got our starter, but we also got Jason Bean just in case, and we've done some things where we've had both quarterbacks in the same time. That we don't have that, and now you got a preferred walk-on that's the backup quarterback now, and we do a lot of zone read, triple option. So now I wonder, and it became a question not just for y'all, but I guess a bigger question for Kansas that, do we try to minimize the quarterback run game, or you say, hey, we got to go do what we do and let the chips fall where they may.
So I'm in the latter, right? You go do what you do because the quarterback run game isn't a design thing, right? It starts not calling that. And they've got a package for Savion Red when you want to go wildcat and when you want to run from that position. So no, it's not a worry. One, because of his physical stature. I think when you run into him, you're probably going to get a little better than you give it. But, talking about the depth, you've got Arch Manning behind him. You've got Charles Wright behind him, who has scholarship offers to Oklahoma State, a couple of other Power 5 programs. So guys that can go and make a screen pass, make a 5-yard, hit a 5-yard crossing route, hit those things that can go and win your game. Just that scenario, if that strikes, and you get there, but at the end of the day, you've got what some argue one of the best offensive minds in the game. You've got a top 25 defense, best defense in the Big 12. You've got the things around that should be able to go and get you a win. 21 points should be enough to win this game, right? I'm predicting much more, but 21 points should be enough to go and win this game.
Defense got to show a big.
Defense has got to show up.
Oklahoma can score.
You can't. BYU. You can't do what you did in Houston.
See that on my mind.
Yeah. You can't do what you did in Houston. You can't consistently give up the 5, 10, 15 yards, dig routes. But also, I think Houston is the best wide receiving core that we're going to play the rest of the year. BYU doesn't have that kind of skill on the outside, so I think we're going to be okay. I'm predicting give me 42-17 Texas.
So you think they just wear them down?
I think they'll wear them down. I don't think BYU can stop Texas.
Oh, you think he's going to use high flying?
And it's not. I'm not predicting. If Malik Murphy has more than 250 yards passing, I'd be surprised. I just don't think the game plan is going to call for it.
And that's what I said. That's why wearing it down speaks to me more. If Quinn Ewers was there, then I would like it'd be high flying, letting it loose. I see that. Not they could score either way because Jonathan Brooks, that running game, that two freshmen y'all have. I mean, they can do it. They're home run. Well, Serge Baxter's a home run hitter. So I mean.
So I think that's one of the things, right? When you really think about this game, and maybe he does end up passing for 400 yards because BYU makes a decision. We're going to put 10, 11 in box, and maybe you're just going to have to go beat us. You're just going to have to put it over my head and prove that this redshirt freshman can do that. I'm one of those people. I try anything. Right? If what I'm doing isn't working, I'm not going to stick with it. I'm going to try something else. So I fully expect that we'll see a variety of defenses and whatever case.
Like I say, I've watched Coach Sark, and I'm a fan of his offense. We joke about it. Oh, he's at Texas now, but I respect it. But if I'm putting my coaching hat on for a second, like you said, they want to pack the box and do that and get physical because I don't care what BYU's schedule is. They're still a physical, good football team. So now,
they got 30 years on the team. However old you are when you get back from a mission, however old you are when you get back from a mission, you're going to be playing against grown men. And I
said with families and everything.
They got 11 kids on the team.
But to give that young quarterback confidence, I think about just being it's okay. They're packing the box. I'm doing rub routes, quick screens to Xavier Worthy. I'm getting the ball out of my hands quick. I'm getting these guys running. I'm quick screening. I'm what you call spot routes, thick routes. We're doing the kind of behind the screen where we're rubbing and blocking right away because we're throwing the ball. Things like that. Just to get some confidence and momentum going, feeling good about. Oh, I'm 7'9" right now. I'm 10'15". Okay, now let's go downfield. Like I say, you never know. I mean, those quick screens, that's so dangerous because you never know with Xavier Worthy and then your boy Mitchell at number 5. I mean, he caught about 500 roll routes against Kansas.
He's a pro, and ultimately, that's again when you're playing. It's pros versus Joes, and that's no disrespect to BYU. But at the end of the day, when I've got kids that can do this, and can do this at a high level and in a variety of circumstances, if you're telling me the game's going to come down to the 12th man, their defensive coordinator versus Steve Sarkisian, I'm probably going to take Steve Sarkisian 10 times out of 10. So that's why there's not a lot of worry in this game.
as much as some other
people may have, because you think about the millions of ways that Texas can go out and win, and they've shown this. Steve Sarkisian talks about this often, but even a novice fan like me can see it on the field where we've probably won a game in 4 different ways:
throwing it, passing it, defensive stops, right?
Running the ball when you needed to down the stretch, even when you hadn't done it. In the Houston game, we didn't run the ball very well. We didn't run the ball particularly well, but in that late third quarter, all the fourth quarter, we ran the ball when we needed to. We got stops when we needed to. And those are things that will carry over from week to week, regardless of who the quarterback is. And tidbit, these kids love Malik Murphy. They love. Hey, no joke, and I think it matters. Not that they don't like Quinn at all, right? But Quinn has converted his life in the off season. He's gotten really big into his religion and into self-empowerment, self-improvement. But when you talk about, guys that are listening to YB in the locker room and just guys that you can relate to, these kids love Malik Murphy, and they've got a rapport. So I don't expect him to show up and play like a backup quarterback tomorrow. And I think that'll put some pressure on the statement you made about Jason Bean being the best backup quarterback in the country. I'd like to see Malik Murphy go show that.
Yeah, he's got to show proof. Jason Bean is been baptized by fire, baby. Yeah. I mean, that kid.
And I'm a fan. We go back and forth. We go back and forth. I'm a fan. I think the kid's really good. I think the kid can go start in a lot of programs.
And I'm glad he stayed. Like we talked about earlier, where we live in transfer portal, NIL, lure them away for whatever reason. But the biggest thing is playing time. So, but yeah, so we're gonna wrap it up. But this has been fun, man. Talking ball. We've gone and we kind of get within ourselves and start talking ball. Like, we're by no means experts. We're just giving you our take and our perspective on it. We've been blessed to have some inside tracks on some different things, and we share that with the world. I will ask you though, so that it's been a couple weeks removed, but that Red River taste is out your mouth.
It's not. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not even gonna fake the funk. It's not. I want it so bad. I've never wanted to because normally you play a team and they beat you. More often than not, you come away feeling beat and you feel like they're the better team, and you're thinking of ways you can duck and dodge them. I want this game. These kids want this game. This coaching staff wants this game again because they feel like you turn the ball over. You turn the ball over 3 times traditionally, another time on downs, another time running into the punter. So you're talking about you gave away 5 possessions in that game and you lose by 4.
And not just that, touching back on the game inches, a millisecond longer, and the quarterback sacked, and that ball is thrown up in the air, thrown on the ground, or fumbled or whatever. And I'm talking. He sat in that pocket as long as you. He's talking about going all the way to the line. He was one, and that's what the rivalry game is about. He was wanting to die for that moment to hit and make that play.
But I honestly think, because you look at it, I forget the numbers I found in the stats, but it's very rare that 2 teams play twice in the season and one team wins both games. That just doesn't happen. I want to say
good team. Yeah,
2 good teams. I think 2 good teams that are within 5 points of the AP with the stat I was looking at. If the 2 teams are within 5 spots of each other in the AP poll, one team wins the game both times, like 30% of the time.
Yeah.
So 70% of the time it's a split, right? So that's kind of what you're hoping. But more importantly, and if you had to lose, I'm glad it happened that way, because when I tell you there's drive and there's motivation to get back to Arlington, and when that happens, I think the spread will even be bigger than it was in the first place. And I'm really excited about it.
Nobody.
Can you win the game? That's going to play into. Sorry, real quick. That's going to play into future thoughts about future games, because assume you win the game this week. Assume you win what will be a dog fight the week after that. Then it starts to worry. Gotta go to Ames. Am I looking ahead to Arlington? Gotta play Texas Tech at home.
and on paper you should dog walk them, right? Am I looking ahead to Arlington? So those things that confidence and that want will start to pose some challenges.
Yeah, and Ames in November or late October, they've bitten plenty of people. I mean, was it Brock Purdy? Was it Brock Purdy? Was it Brock Purdy that got y'all in Ames?
No, it was Kim Vaughn.
I can't remember. But but touching on that playing twice, you talked about it. Nobody has a bigger sample size in that than Alabama, because it's SEC championship, and then a lot of times it's the SEC national championship. So I mean, but that's a good point.
And they split with Georgia. The very first year they did it, Alabama won both years. Next 2 years,
see, and that's crazy. And it used to be Alabama, Clemson, and all that. I mean, so those teams have those sample sizes. So I think I know it sucks, and I don't know. I giggled on the inside just because misery loves company. But I thought about it, and you really can't say, well, it's the last Red River Shootout because y'all both leaving together. But it's kind of like, I don't know. Within the Big 12, we were the last Big 12 Red River Shootout. I don't know if that name goes with it. Obviously, it's still a rival. I
don't think that matters because you get a chance to do that.
Well, I'm telling y'all, you better do it now because y'all both are not playing in the SEC championship against each other no time soon. Or y'all gonna be the same division?
If you look, they won't do divisions next year, but
see, I haven't got
allegedly they're going to pods.
That's right.
We wouldn't be in the same pod. But again, I almost like it that way because then that game matters, and that game means everything because I think as a fan that you walk out and that's where your mind is. Okay, we lost, but everything we want is still in front of us. You get to see them again.
Does the SEC make it a home and away, or do they keep it in?
No. Because they're big traditions, right? You got Florida, Georgia.
Well, we're not going to get into tradition. That'll start a whole other conversation. We're about to wrap this thing up because the old Big 12. But I'm going to say this about my Kansas Jayhawks, and I love to see it. We talked earlier about Central Florida being the number one team in total offense in the conference. I don't know about points scored, but only against who did they just play? OU. That's only the second. That's the second lowest points that they scored. Lowest points scored this year was against the Kansas Jayhawks at 22 points. So if you're holding a team that's averaging 500, Texas does statistically.
Okay, so they didn't play the
Well, if you was at that game, Texas Kansas, the score does not tell the true story of how that game went. He can make faces. That I was sitting in that mosh pit of Texas fans, and they didn't breathe until the end of the third quarter. They didn't breathe till the end of the third quarter.
I don't think that's true. You sat there the whole time. I told you. And again, when you're at home, you got all these things working for you. You don't panic until you have to, and we didn't have to. Now, again, you respect whoever's in front of you always, and you don't fear anybody. You can't fear circumstances. You can't chase those.
Yeah,
you always had an opportunity to do what we do. Now, I think that's maybe a caution for this weekend, the games to come for both teams. Is when you do what you do very well, Texas is very balanced, right? They run in the pass. Kansas has a variety of options. So anytime you're in a game, you're in a position to do what you do well, you're going to feel good. When you get in those scenarios, you're down big and now you got to throw it. Or, you're up big and now you start trying to run.
Yeah, tight.
Right. When you don't do what you do, is where you're
No doubt. Well, it's gonna be an exciting weekend. I'll be lying if I said I wasn't nervous. Not nervous about we're gonna get beat, but just I can't wait to see them on the field again. And I feel so good, about where we are as a program. I mean, I'm not gonna get into a whole nother conversation because we've been on here long enough. But later on, I've got some film talk and some chalk talk, whatever you want to call it. When I talk about just how Kansas has looked this year offensively so far. But I appreciate you, Eric. I appreciate doing this. Like,
if you guys enjoyed this, man, like, subscribe, be looking out for future content to come.
Because we've been around it, and I like this dynamic. I've coached for over 15 years. Played. I do respect your knowledge, and you know, and I've tested it many times. We've got a friendship, but it's a very competitive friendship, and it's an accountability within it. You know, you can just say something willy nilly out your neck, and I'm going to accept it without getting side eyed. So, you know, it's been fun, and you know, we'll have other guests, and we'll get some other opinions. You know, because we're definitely not going to just keep it Kansas, Texas. You know, but you know, for the first show, we wanted to pay homage to our teams that we love, and respect. So, big matchup this week. Golly, man, I'm ready. I'm ready, man. Golly, I wish I could be in Lawrence. It's homecoming. It's OU. Golly, but yeah. But once again, if you like it, we'll keep this thing going. I enjoyed it. I could talk ball all day. It's already been over an hour. This was fun, man. So, be blessed. Y'all have a good weekend. This is Just Talking Ball with Texas Jayhawk and Eric Foster. Rock chalk. Now we're going to get into some Kansas offensive plays that will be key to their success against OU this week. And I wanted to look at some of these clips from last year because I really feel that Kansas is one block away, one catch away, one read away from being a very good football team. They're good, but I mean a very good football team. And you got to think, I'm only going over this film from last year because it is homecoming, it is Oklahoma week, and Jason Bean is the starter. And a little background, which everybody knows, is last year Kansas was undefeated, and they played TCU a week before. Game day, everybody's there. Jalen Daniels goes down, I think late in the first half. Jason Bean comes in, has decent numbers. So now next week he's got to get ready to play the Oklahoma Sooners. So you practice 3, 4, 5 days essentially, and you're trying to get that comfort, get that mesh with the ones that you hadn't had because Daniels was going. So now you're in a situation where next man up, and you got to be ready to go. And that mentality is great and it's good, but at the quarterback position, there's just a little more that goes into it. Okay, so we're just going to look at a couple of things, pass game, run game-wise, O-line play. Like I said, right here, don't know if there was a communication problem here. Motion in, maybe we can talk. We can go here. Arnold takes him. Maybe he can go help to the linebacker, or he can go to the safety right here since this guy right here didn't get to the second level. We got penetration right here, which alters the running back's path, but Devin Neal does a great job of making a guy miss, and that is an essential quality to have as a running back, is making guys miss. You can't block everyone, and 9 times out of 10, when it is blocked perfectly, you still have a free hitter, and that is the running back's guy. Right there, does a good job. So maybe if that's cleaner and we've got this guy not shooting, he's on this third level defender right away, and maybe even a cleaner run or more yards to begin with. All right, we're gonna great play here. Running zone again. Had a quad set. Overload. Gonna motion to him, almost a trip snub wing. Run some zone. Got a body on a body. Touchdown. Let's look at the end zone. Gonna see the motion. Right now, if you're looking at it, we'll look at it and then we'll talk about it. See, everybody's running tracks. So now we did get up on the second level defenders a lot better right now. Even you see it here. We should have somebody here. He's here. The center's able to get off. A lot of times you combo here and it's a you-me call. We're just running a cutoff. We shouldn't let these guys run us down backside. Sure enough, got a seam, made a guy miss, touchdown. Staying with the zone, great spacing, great holes right here. Body on the body. Getting up to second level defenders. Free hitters, a safety right there, makes them miss. Does a great job getting yards after making people miss after contact, being a downhill home run hitter, a threat. Devin Neal. I'm so glad we have this kid back. I'm going to look at the end zone right here. We get motion. And you're going to see right here. Oklahoma runs a little slant game right here. Could be a tendency call, just could be some games that the DC wanted to run. It works in Kansas' favor. They essentially slant themselves out of the play, and our O-line does a good job being athletic, just turning, getting the body on the body right here. Is a great job right here by this tackle. We're going to get into some gap scheme stuff right here. It's a great run. We'll go to the end zone right here. Got the orbit motion or whatever you call it. Got the center snapping and pulling with the H, F, whatever you want to call them, whatever your terminology is. We're down. Linebacker plays a little fast. What you essentially would like to have here is we're down to the backer. Center's pulling. Kick out first man. He's coming. He should be up on the backer. That's what we should have here. We actually get it. The tackle does a good job staying with him. You know, a lot of times you don't want to chase, but it works out here. And then the other wide defender ends up running right into the H. Good patience by Devin Neal here. Stick foot right there. Got vertical. Good run. Here we go again with another gap scheme, if I'm not mistaken. Great patience at the point of attack. Patience to power through is a term old schools used to use when running the ball. Because, like I say, running backs are always going to be faster than the O-line. But running backs can't go anywhere without the O-line. And that's coming from an old running back. Now we got a little GF combo right here. Same thing. We're down, trying to get to the second level defender, the linebacker. First puller should be kick out. Next puller should be up on the next level. And I apologize. Schemes are different. This is what I'm seeing. But a lot of times when you're blocking gap schemes, it's really to the backside backer, and second puller has the play side backer. Doesn't always go the way you draw it up, but you see what happens here. It did this time. Great job. Right here, the back right here looking for work. Does a great job. Now onto a different scheme. Zone option, triple option, zone read, whatever you want to call it. This is another area where Jason Bean excels. I remember going to the Texas game this year. The first play they ran, I think they went for like 30. Zone reading it. Pull read. Pitch. Explosive play. Kansas OC does a great job of finding a way of getting
the ball in every athlete's hand, every skilled player's hand, whether it's option, shovel screen, run, pass. If, and this is a prime example. Let's just say I'm just using it as an example. If Skinner's not, number 83 is not getting a lot of targets or not getting a lot of passes thrown to him, what does he do? He puts them in the zone option game and finds a way to get the ball in a good athlete's hand, in a skilled player's hand. Good job attacking downhill. More option, just speed option with a load, lead blocker, whatever, whatever your terminology is or how you learned it. You're going to avoid the first threat, which is the pitch man. He's got to do a good job getting downhill and attacking. Right here, we don't do a good enough job, or Kansas doesn't do a good enough job of staying on blocks. Some coaches in certain programs I've been around, I remember seeing on the whiteboard said, bad blocking equals treason. This is a team game. You've got to do things. Not to say that these guys don't want to do it. We're just talking about the execution of a play here. And you can see that they would have a play if we can get this block achieved right here. First off, who doesn't cause him to go wide, and we don't fall right here on this guy. Might have a play. So that's just one of the examples I was talking about, Kansas being a play away, a block away. Get some of the throwing stuff. Now this is some things that, just watching this game, and Jason, this is his first game, if I'm not mistaken, of him starting. Just hearing reports about him, Jason Bean is the fastest player on the team, which is impressive, at the quarterback position, to have, be a dual threat guy like that. But, just right here, this goes back to just having reps and just having time with, with the ones. Tried to run a little, screen and go. Oklahoma sits on it, does a good job defending it. They've got both of the go guys covered. What does he do? Pulls it down. And, he eats up a lot of yards in a short amount of time. So that is a definite benefit. This is a play right here. This is a play where we look like we're in a tempo situation. You see Oklahoma trying to sub guys. We're already lined up, ready to go. We're going to get a free play because too many men on the field, legal substitution. But also, we've got a tight end right here, and we've got a tackle right here. Coach Kolanecki does a great job of using innovative formations, different sets, but also staying within the rules of not getting procedure calls, not getting illegal men downfield, ineligible receivers. So this is a play right here where it looks like Kansas tempoed Oklahoma, got in their special set, and boom, they ran it. You see, you got the O-lineman out here staying behind the line of scrimmage, not being an illegal man downfield. You've got the tight end who is eligible to go downfield, releasing from the tackle position right down the middle. It's hard to play that fast when you're not used to those sets. He widens out right down the pipe, touchdown. Let's look at it from the end zone. See that set there? Tackle, guard, center, guard, tight end. Other tackles over here out of the screen. Great job. This is another example right here. Just bad decision making, not being with the ones enough. Timing right here. In my opinion, the route. Ball's got to be going right now. And it look like he's almost getting ready to release it. But you've got to use your eyes to manipulate this guy. And I don't think he uses his eyes well enough to manipulate him, to make him make a decision so he can decide, because essentially he's got nobody underneath in the windows to not throw it to these guys. So you have to manipulate this guy either here or there to make him make a decision, and you throw opposite of him. And I just think he didn't get a chance to do a good enough job of manipulating him with his eyes. And ended up being a turnover. Essentially a pro offset motion. Now this is a better ball. Patience, goes through his progression. Some people may call it 2-ball. Little zip on it, just enough to get over those second level defenders right in the window. Good run after the catch. Touchdown. Essentially a 4-2 box right here. Nothing O-line can't handle. Great job, great ball, great 2-ball right there. Great timing, great in rhythm. And this is what I love about this offense. If you're trying to teach guys defensively through keys, or if this O-lineman does this, then you do this, or this gives away a pass read or a run read. In today's football, you can manipulate so many things. You're giving play action looks. You're giving the zone, split zone look, play action off of it. You're also giving the orbit motion to, give an indicator of possible triple option, just enough to freeze these guys right here to find the hole. Throw right off his back shoulder. Great job. Play action, good eyes, boom. Here you go, we got 3-by-1. Right here, just play action, quick game, Arnold, first down. These are the things, especially with the athletes, I think Oklahoma has, and not I think that I know, Oklahoma has. We're going to have to play fast, and just get things going positive, in a positive direction, get some confidence up, get the run game going especially. And speaking of run game, it was Devin Neal's first carry of the season, if I'm not mistaken, and he goes to the house, makes 2 guys miss. We're going to definitely need Devin Neal and Highshaw. I think, this 1-2 combination that they have going on right now is a big deal. 1, 2. That's a great job. Oh, it's 3, actually. Great job. Here we go. Now, we've seen quick game by Bean. We've seen the run game by Neal. And now you come back and you've been successful running the ball. And now the quarterback pulls it out the back door. And like I said on the other video, Jason Bean, it's been said, I'm not in Lawrence, but it's been said he's the fastest player on the football team. Texas obviously is a top 10. Are they still a top 10 team? No. I was at this game front and center. This is kind of when things this season, really, I don't get into all this talk, but, Eric is a big Texas fan, and, as you already know, listening to him and me go back and forth about Kansas and Texas. But we're at this game, and I really felt, that we had a chance to beat these guys. I know Texas is good, but Kansas is good too, and that just might be my biased opinion. But you just wasn't prepared to see Jason Bean run on the field where you thought Jalen Daniels was going to start. And I all respect to Coach Leipold and, protecting his players' privacy and, everybody's not entitled to know what's going on. Yeah, you hadn't heard or seen him get hit, or hurt, should I say? So you're expecting to see him, but he didn't. Bean was next man up. First play of the game, we come out and we run the triple option and gash him. And I think Texas defense is a little bit better than Oklahoma's. I don't know statistically if that's true, but I'm not going to get into stats. We're just talking more about plays and execution right now. So here we go. Off the same action. We got orbit motion. Maybe we're looking. And I'm going to tell you, there's just so many things you can do, and I don't want to get too excited and start just talking about, what I would do and this and that. But you can still pull it off of this read. Even though it's gap, it's a counter scheme, and you got the orbit guy. From right here, I'm just going to pause it right here. So from right here, this is what could happen. You can have the play ran as it is, which is counter. Give it to the Highshaw to run it. You could pull it, have the Skinner, number 0, as an option man, and attack this guy, send him here. You've got an option play. Or you can pull it, sit back, and throw him on the screen or a wide pass play to the sideline, block him here, block this guy, or run him off. And now it's just one-on-one, which is always a free hitter. So there's so many things that you can do. And you can even add the fact that I've already talked about the quarterback just pulling it off the zone read. He might run and give action like he's going to throw this wide ball to this guy to get movement and then just pull it down and run himself. So that is one look from the line, one look to the secondary, but both the front end and the back end is getting different looks. So you can't just tie everything in and just yell, counter, because you yell counter, everybody's thinking run play. Now we're pulling it out the back door with triple option. So now you're going to scream triple option or option. Now he pulls up and he throws out the back door because everybody's coming up or they're running laterally to go defend the option. So there's just so many things off of that one play that you can run and have success at and not get too multiple and not get too complicated or not have so much in your playbook to where your O-line has to think so much, because that's where it begins and ends. O-line plays fast, everybody else can catch up. We're gonna base, we're gonna combo to the backside or back. We're first puller, second puller. We don't get to the backside, still make a good cut, making guys miss, and he's running through guys, and he gets 3 or 4 more yards. Great job. Funky play, but what's the saying? Sometimes you rather be lucky than good. And this is just, we got the bounce to go our way. Ran a triple option. Had the lead blocker, great job on the fake. Breaks the tackle and takes a pretty good hit. Fumbles. But Johnny on the spot right there. That's my man Highshaw, makes a heads-up play, picks it up, and finishes it off. And that's 6 points. I don't care what it looks like. That's 6 points. Now, that's not how you draw it up. But everything else, execution, you just got to take care of the ball. And that's another – that brings me to another point of no turnovers. You can't turn the ball over against a team that's playing as well as Oklahoma's playing right now. So, in my opinion, that's another key to victory. Running the ball, being successful running the ball, no turnovers. For example, Jason Bean doing some things. And here we go. This has been an emergence. It's been a player that I've been hearing a lot about. Trevor Wilson. Watching this in real time and sitting by Texas fans, they were in awe. Like, this guy had this defender beat by almost 8 yards. Like, he ran away from him. And Texas football, they have great speed in the back end. In the state of Texas, kids are just known to being able to run. So a lot of times when you're in Texas and you get an out-of-state opponent or somebody from somewhere else, you're like, well, golly, how this kid run right by him, and that's Trevor Wilson, the transfer from Buffalo that came with Coach Leipold, and he has had a great middle half of the season. This game and then the games following, he's been a big help to the Kansas offense. He's made plays not just in the receiver position but in special teams as well. I think he returned a punt against UCF 2 weeks ago. Speaking of which, this UCF game, Central Florida, right here, just a great job of just getting a body on a body, running outside zone. Right here, the blocking. This is a better job. And I heard the OC talk about, their open week and not trying to do too much or reinvent the wheel, but just evolve, and the things you're good at, continue to get better at them. And this is a great example of it. We're running outside zone right here. And we talked about the missed blocks earlier in the film, and you say missed blocks or bad blocking equals treason. Well, I tried to show it on the end zone. I'm going to go back to the wide. But right here, these guys right here doing their job. Look at that. That springs Devin Neal to get an extra 10 more yards. I mean, that's what you need. You need these guys blocking out on the perimeter and downfield on run plays, and you need running backs in protection picking up blitzes so quarterback can have time and let these receivers and find these receivers and get open. So it all ties in. But when you're good at doing both and you're executing it, then sky's the limit. That's how you keep defenses off balance. Wow, what a physical run. I think Kansas put up the most points, I think, against Central Florida opponents this year. And I think they only gave up the second least amount of points. Here we go right here. What we talked about. Manipulating the pitcher, giving looks, giving false keys, giving guys thinking that they're getting one read and they're not. Oh wow! And we got a gap scheme look right here, and you've got a boundary corner fire here coming. Sometimes you just the tendencies, the film watching, all that stuff pays off. So now we're faking the counter. We're going to fake the quick screen to the top and come back with the screen underneath it. Now, a lot of times that probably would have been the end defender, the edge player or the outside linebacker, but because these guys in Central Florida know they had a boundary corner coming, he could slash inside. And now this guy has D-gap to outside, trying to hold the edge. But we come right under him and get the screen. Great catch, good block. Execution blocking downfield right here. That Arnold, who is also a Texas kid, DeSoto, Texas, I think. That's great execution right here. We talk about the manipulation, the pitcher, counter, screen. Counter, quick screen. Now we run the counter. Patience to power through. Try to get that third guy in there to seal it off the backside. Get a piece of him. Down. First pull a kick out right there. Boom. Turn up. Find color and go. Make a guy miss is what he does. Then outruns the rest of the defense. Touchdown. That's the things that Devin Neal's going to need to do against Oklahoma this week. Patience to stick your foot, power through. I love it. It's a good job. Oklahoma State game right here. We talk about, everybody going into this game was, had the feeling of, last year. I won't even say nostalgia, but last year, this was the game that Kansas became bowl eligible on. And so you kind of felt like, oh, yeah, we handled Oklahoma State well, but every year is a new year, and you got to show up every game. And, this was a close one. I think Bean had 400 yards passing, But let's get into some execution. Trevor Wilson right there is another deep ball. And, you know, the point I wanted to make about talking about the keys and just showing some film from this season is, if you notice from that Oklahoma cut up or recap from last year with Jason Bean to watching him this year, how much faster he's playing, how he's getting the ball out of his hand, how decisive he is, how much more confident he is, the throws he's making, like I talked about in the Texas game, that pays, that's invaluable, you know. And to have a backup that can make plays like that, timing throws right there, you know, on the break, the ball's already out of his hand when that guy sticks his foot to make his outbreak. These are the things that he's needed, which he's gotten this year as far as reps, you know, in practice, fall camp, and, you know, kind of preparing these guys to go. Same thing, innovation. We see this play before. Tackle over or tight end at the tackle spot, and the big man here, right down the pipe, and we look how fast he gets rid of it. Now I'm pretty sure Oklahoma is going to be looking for that. They're well coached. Like, their head coach is Brent Venables, who's a defensive guy who's been highly successful in his schemes, you know, so they're going to be a very disciplined team. So that's why you've got to make plays when you can, and you cannot turn the ball over. So got a double tight end wing here, set Z over, however you want to call it. I don't put all the information on here, but let's just see for the oh, this is the new film, so I don't even have that. Okay, so here we go. Right here. This action, these eyes, they're bad eyes, but they're human too. They've been so successful and effective running the ball. You play action and go right over the top. That's why you can't be one-dimensional. And, you know, you can say we're running the ball, but, you know, I was listening to another report, and it was saying, yeah, numbers may say it, but like I say, they say Kansas didn't run the ball that well because Oklahoma State was just so committed to stopping the run. And they're one of the most very they have a wide variety of defensive fronts. They're so multiple, man, in the things that they do. Sometimes they'll be in a 3-3 stack. Sometimes they'll be in a 3-2 box. Sometimes they'll be in a 5-man front. They'll have a 7-man front. They're so multiple, and that's a credit to their staff, because they can do so many things. So you can't prepare for just one or two fronts against Oklahoma State. And, you know, things like that, numbers. This is a great play with his legs extending the play. That's what I'm talking about, playing fast. I think he had, 400 yards? I keep going back to stats, but, you know, execution and just 400 yards and 5 touchdowns, and we came out with a loss, you know. Yeah, you don't want to lose, but you're also optimistic about the potential, you know, of going into a big game like this to become bowl eligible again this year against another Oklahoma team, just not the same Oklahoma team, but Oklahoma team with a backup quarterback, quote unquote. Here we go. We're in empty right here. 5-man protection versus 3. So those numbers, or, you know, those will say, you know, it should be a benefit for Oklahoma State. But we got past, got behind them. There's a rush 3, drop 8. They didn't drop them deep enough. Right here, just bad eyes, bad footwork. Got his cushion broke before he could open his hips up. Good timing on throwing the ball. Wide open. Great job by Skinner. Right here, I want to talk about this real quick. So in a 2x2 cut set, 2x2 cut with Z motion. So this is a play right here. This is obviously just quarterback draw called with the running back leading. I know we hadn't run this much this year. We ran it a lot last year. Guy had some big success against Houston and West Virginia earlier in the year. And this play also set up tailback seam down the middle, off the quarterback draw look. But right here, just we get enough. We're man blocking. They run a stunt. They run a tech stunt right here. Twist. Running back gets a piece of the twister, even though he's got the linebacker, and he gets a little bit of the linebacker. And like I say, Jason Bean is fast. That is some acceleration right there. Good job. So I'm sorry. Sometimes I'm talking like a coach. Just good job. But I love good offensive football, baby.